Hello students. So today we are going to continue the second video. Last video we discussed about the hard part of service marketing and how service plays the role and what are the different FDI option and job roles and all we have studied. Today we are going to study about consumer behavior in services. So let's begin with this. So the first all about overview is that how consumer seek. Okay, we are also consumer. We know how we seek the services, how we choose them, how we purchase them, then experience happens and evaluate services. Example, if you want to eat in barbecue chicken or non-veg, then that's a seek. Then we choose. There are several hotels available here. In that we choose, for example, Kaswa. Then we go there and we purchase food item and we have the service. We experience it and we evaluate the services. So this thing happen with your transportation services, communication services, banking services, financial services. So that there were different services are available. So we evaluate. The two most important influences: consumer life stage and then the generation in which she was born. So these two things decide our selection, what influences us. So one, first of all, life stage, in which life stage we are living in, and the most important part comes is the generation in which he or she was born. So what type of generation we belongs to. So different generations of consumers have personalities shaped by events, history, and people drive their needs for different types of services. So how a consumer search the service, experience it, and credence properties. So search qualities when consumer look for, and that are attributes a consumer can determine prior to purchase of a product. Example, that is color, price, whether it will fit us, how we feel. So example, jewelry, car services, clothing. These all fall into the search qualities. But when it comes to the experience qualities, attributes a consumer can determine after purchases, okay, or during even consumption. For example, if I'm having an ice cream, I can experiences during my consumption. Even if I'm traveling, that can also can be experienced of a product. So example, the taste, wearability, example, vacation, restaurant, meals and all. So that is all comes under the experience qualities. And then comes the credence qualities. So characteristic that may be impossible to evaluate even after purchase and consumption. So example, surgeries. So these are very tough to evaluate because it's very tough to evaluate its characteristics because we were unable to do it. Like example is surgery. If we had a surgery, then what after surgery? So it's very tough to evaluate. So if you see here the continuum of evaluation of different types of products. So easy to evaluate and difficult to evaluate. Clothing, jewelry, furniture, houses, automobiles, restaurant meals. These are easily can be evaluated. Okay, they are fall under the high in search qualities also. Okay, when we look into. And second thing, when most services, so high in experience quality, that is restaurant, meal, vacation, haircuts, childcare. So these all fall under the high experience qualities because while having it and post, we can evaluate it. But furniture, houses, automobile, jewelry, and clothing, we can judge it before the purchase. And high in credence qualities, here the television repair, the legal services, and root canal treatment of auto repairs and medical diagnosis. So these are very difficult to evaluate, and these all fall under the high in credence qualities. Now coming to the perceived risk and purchasing and using services. So we have already studied this topic in consumer behavior, how perceived risk is managed, how perceived quality is done. Okay, perceived risk is relevant for services that are difficult to evaluate before purchase and consumption. So first time users, more uncertain. If you look at example, functional risk, unsatisfactory performance outcome, financial risk, monetary cost, and temporal risk, we can say wastage of time, consequences of delays, physical risk, that all about the personal injury and damage to possessions, psychological risk, personal fear and emotions, social risk and sensory risk. So these all which under fall the risk. So how do customers handle the perceived risk? So they seek information from personal or family sources that we studied in our consumer behavior also. So rely on firm that has good reputation. Okay, guarantees and warranties that also we have studied. Visit service facilities and trying aspects of service before purchasing. Okay, ask knowledgeable employees about competing services. Examine tangible cues or physical evidences. We can visit there, we can see before taking a restaurant, not visiting the website, but we can go to a for example, lodge. We can get into the room, we can check it, then we can purchase. That also can be done. So use internet for competitor service offerings and do search for independent review and ratings also. So risk reduction strategies developed by supplier, how they do this. So they offer performance warranties. That is, the warranty plays an important card uh, to have a risk reduction. So money back guarantee that can be given. Prospective customers can preview service through brochure or web or TV also. So encourage prospectors to visit service facilities. We can call them, have an experience, then purchase the services. That also can be done. Institute visible safety procedures. So these are all visible thing, so that can also be used as in strategies. Train staff to be respectful and empathetic in their dealing with the customers. So we know the difference, different banks, no need to tell, you have visited almost all bank, I think so. So you know the performance of the different bank, how they react to you, how they talk to you, how they behave to you. So you can compare SBI with Axis or ICICI. So you can easily come to know how the uh, different in dealing the customer is. So the training staff that plays an important role to delight the customer. Provide toll-free number websites so they can ask a question to you. They can visit and find out a query also. Deliver messages to cell phones, delayed flights by airlines. For example, your bus is booked at 9:30, so you can message them because of some technical error, or you can say breakdown. So bus can come at 10 o'clock. So that can be used. So giving customer online tracker to track orders. So this in Flipkart or anything, Amazon or any FedEx. So these all give you some numbers so you can track your orders also. So these are all risk reduction strategies. And understanding the customer service expectations. So this is again important part in service. So customers evaluate service quality by comparing what is expected with what they receive from the supplier. So this is an important role, and this is thing to important for service provider. Always need to understand what exactly the consumer expect from us, and if we deliver something else, then what will happen? If expectations are met or exceeded, customer believe that they have received high quality services. So we have experienced this, what we expected and we got more than that. Then we are very delighted and that is more high quality. If price or quality relationship is acceptable and other situational factors are positive, so customer likely to make repeat purchase and remain loyal to that supplier because he is delighted and he is happy with the services that have been provided. Customers' expectation of a good service varies from one business to another. So pre-experience also plays an important part. So business to business, we know the type of the restaurants. If you see financial services, banking services, the barber shop, okay, the beauty cares. So we know all how it is differentiated. So expectations also vary depending upon the position. Example, no frills airline services versus full service airline services. So in local example, if we give the SRS travels and VRL travels, so KSRTC travels, so you can have the different easily you can evaluate, because if you have traveled, you can easily evaluate it. So service expectation change over time influenced by advertisement. The heavy the advertisement, that much expectations increases. Pricing, more the price, more the expectations. New technology, service innovations, social trends. Okay, you might have seen in the time of pandemic how the communication services company have provided with the app and how they have managed the problems faced by the users. Social trends, increased access to info through various media. Example, parents involvement in medical care for child. So these all change according to the experience we have in the life. Customer expectations are, we know, that are beliefs about service delivery that serve as a standard or reference point against which performance is judged. So we know how the performance can be judged of any services. Okay, if we are applied for a loan, how much time it will take. So we believe then one day they promise that one day loan sanctioning, 2 day loan sanctioning, but after putting in with the expectations, so as per the standard, we can set it and we can judge the performance of the organization who are providing services. Because customers compare their perceptions of performance with these reference points when evaluating service quality. Knowledge about customer expectation is important over here because the quality differs from person to person and it depends on totally satisfaction of the customer, and it varies from depend on the consumer's knowledge or customer's knowledge. So knowing what customers expect is the first step in assuring service quality. So once we come to know what exactly the requirements of the customer, so that can be fulfilled very easily. So that's why it's need to take that first step, know what customer require, then we can supply it. If you see here, the possible level of customer expectation, one is a higher level, second is a lower level. So high ideal expectations or desires. So for example, if you take of a restaurant, everyone say this restaurant is good as one in France, and I want to go somewhere very special for my anniversary. So it means expectations and desires are very high this side because that is an anniversary time. Normative should expectation, as expensive as this restaurant is, it ought to have excellent food and services. So if you see the rates or charts and looking and all, more expensive means we can expect more quality also and excellent food also that fall in the normative. So experience based norms, most times this restaurant is very good, but when it gets busy, the service is slow. So we can understand some restaurants at the peak time, like afternoon session, huge people crowd come out, but at evening they serve very nice. It totally depends on the experience we had. So crowd increases, so busy schedule, obviously, the waiters cannot perform their service as per because service are totally depend on people. So that also problem can be faced. Acceptable expectations. So I expect this restaurant to serve me in an adequate manner. That is an expectations. So minimum tolerable expectations. So I accept terrible service from this restaurant, but come because the price is low. So this is how we have experienced different services in our life also, day to day activities when we visit somewhere, and we have experienced all such thing. Okay. Now coming to the components of service expectations. So here comes desired services, adequate services, predicted services, and zone of tolerance. So desired and adequate services are most two important component. Okay. So desired service, type of service which customer hope to receive. That is what the consumer is desiring. So that is called wished for level. So this is a combination of what customers believe can and should be delivered in the context of personal needs. What exactly he desired. A blend of what customer believes can be and should be. So it can be like this, so it should be like this. That decide the blend. Okay. So adequate service, minimum level of service which customer will accept without being dissatisfied. So either you will be delighted or will be satisfied. So minimum adequate service you require is you will not be dissatisfied with the services provided. So customers are realistic. Okay, obviously we are all realistic in nature. So they have threshold level of expectations. If you look at example, fast food service restaurant versus an expensive gourmet meal restaurant. So in Bijapur also, if just you look at your nearby hotels near to your college, if you go Kaswa, the costs are very high. If you visit some dhaba, the costs are very less. So you can evaluate this because they are very realistic one. Now, what are the factor influence customer service expectation of services? So if you look at the central table, so the two important factor I already told you that uh, so one is the desired services and then is adequate services. So in between this, okay, so customer is ready to tolerate whatever service is coming. Okay, now how desired services comes up. So once is a personal need and belief about what is possible. Okay, and this side, if you see, explicit is an implicit service promises, word of mouth, past experience, what we had. Okay, the promises are always made by the service provider himself, and word of mouth we can come through the one who has gone there or had a services, or else we could have had our past services in that particular restaurant or any other service provider. So we predict something, okay, and with this, the advocate service, perceived service alteration, situational factors matters a lot, and then predicted service comes up. So these all factors influence the desired service and adequate services. Now predicted service level. So the level of service which customer actually anticipate receiving. Obviously, when you go to a barber shop, you have predicted yourself that you have already decided you would like to have this type of haircut. So you will tell to the barber, and you will have a service from him. So that is actually what you are anticipating. Okay, you will look like this, and he will have a haircut very nicely. So directly affects how they define adequate service at that level. So customer prediction will be situation specific. Example, long queues for ticket for amusement park on a holiday. So you can easily understand this because you also have gone through this type of example. Okay, so situation matters a lot. Even though the queue is huge, but people will not leave to take a ticket for that amusement park because it's an holiday situation. So next important thing that is we discuss about zone of tolerance. So difficult for firms to achieve consistent delivery by all employees in the same company and even by same service employee from one time of day to another. If you look at our example, if you're a faculty member, in morning, you can expect something from us very highly energetic. But at the after lunch, post lunch, that is very tough to expect same thing because human nature, because services are totally delivered by a people oriented. Okay, and even same thing if you look into the doctors, if the patients are more, and even the mood, that matters a lot. So nothing will be the same in the same organization. Once you had the same taste, but next time might be change. The extent to which customers are willing to accept the waste variation is called a zone of tolerance. So we saw in this that desired level to the adequate services, whatever the fall, so the customer ready to take it, that is called zone of tolerance. Too low performance, frustration and dissatisfaction. So obviously you will start shouting on them. The food was not good, the haircut is not correct. We waited a lot and they were served not well to us amongst customers. Exceeding. When it is exceeding, please and delight customers. Okay. So if you take after having a meal, if ice cream is given free of cost, so that will be delighted. Okay. Other words, the range of service within which customer don't pay explicit attention to service performance. Okay, so we are nowhere concerned about it, what is happening. So we are ready to accept it. So when service falls outside this range, customers either react positively or negatively. So we have came across this zone of tolerance in our day-to-day life or earlier also. So we might have got angry also, we might have some time delighted also, and we can say sometimes, okay, no issues. So that all fall into the zone of tolerance. And the size of zone of tolerance will be larger or smaller depending on factors such as competition in the market, prices, what we are paying for service, importance of service, importance of specific service attribute which can influence the level of adequate service. So example, if you see waiting time at checkout at grocery store, 2 to 3 minutes versus 15 minutes. So it depends. Okay. If there is only one grocery store, then we are ready to wait for 15 minutes. If there are plenty of grocery stores are available, so we will not wait it because the competition is there, so we can. And we are paying high if we are waiting, then again it creates the problem with us. Okay, different customers possess different zones of tolerance. So we know example customer who work versus at home for repairing. So customer who work, so obviously repairing should come fast and immediately it has to be finished. Okay, when we are at home only for repairing, we can wait whenever he come, then had a repair, then we can leave. But that depends on the customers. Okay, also varies from service dimensions. Less tolerant or unreliable service than for service deficiencies. Okay, so now comes the consumer choice. So first, obviously, the need recognition begins with the recognition that a need or a want exists, that we have already studied this. Maslow's hierarchy that we have seen in consumer behavior. Okay, so we know psychological needs, safety and security needs. Okay, how we take it. If you look at the examples, psychological need, biological needs such food, water, and sleep. Recognition of needs is fairly easy. When it comes to safety and security needs, obviously, inclusive of shelter, protection, and security. So here, consumers seek to provide for their own and their loved ones. So shelter, safety, and security through many types of example. We can say parent looking for child care and education, and there are so many options available. Then social needs, we know that need for affection, friendship, and acceptance. Example of internet services, because that is the only way where social network can be connected. So example next is the ego needs, prestige, success, accomplishment, and self-esteem. If you look at example, the spa services or plastic surgeries, these all come under ego needs. Self-actualization needs, if you see, so self-fulfillment and enriching experience. So example are skydiving. Okay, so these how the services are made the choice as per the Maslow's hierarchy. So now let's see what are the factors that influence customer expectations of services. So we know where it comes. So sources of desired service expectations. Obviously, first comes with the personal need. So it might be physical or it might be psychological. Okay. So here, for example, if you see uh, physical, social, functional, and psychological. Okay. So it all depends what exactly we are looking for. Okay, if we are looking for physical and psychological well-being of a customer are parallel to customers to desire in services. So there are different things as per the personal needs comes up. So next is lasting service intensifiers, individual stable factors which lead the customer to a heightened sensitivity to service. One most important factor is derived service expectation. So it occur when customer expectation is driven by another person or a group. So example is birthday party organized by mother for her kid. So this will become lasting service intensifier. So it is not going to, it is going to last for longer time. Personal service philosophy. So in this, the customer's underlying generic attitude about meaning of service and proper conduct of service providers. So if you look at this example, delivery within 30 minutes, that's what pizza promises. Okay. So uh, it, next is sources of adequate service expectation. The three types, one is temporary service intensifier, perceived service alternatives, self-pursued services. Now, if you look at temporary service intensifiers, short-term individual factor that make customer more aware of service need. If you look at example, personal emergency situation and accident. So they are temporary service intensifier. So here the service is needed very emergency because here they will not evaluate much because temporarily we need to find out the services. Problems with initial service also leads to heightened expectation. Example, auto repair also. When it comes to the perceived service alternatives, are other provider from whom the customer can obtain services. So saloon, airline, be customer from a smaller town. Okay, and these are the example for it. Marketers should fully understand the complete set of options that customers view as perceived alternatives. Okay, so if we look at example, small town customer view rail as another option, but depends on the customer also. Self-perceived service role, but again that role is another option. It depends on the time availability and reaching method, how quickly he wants to reach. The self-perceived service role, customer perception of the degree to which customer exert an influence on the level of service they receive. If you look at example, meal ordering in a restaurant. So how much the role of customer, how much he is pursued it, okay? Because what happens is, if we see there, so customer perception of the degree to which customer exert, okay, an influence on the level of service they receive. So whenever he receive, example, we are having a meal ordering in a restaurant, so the waiting time, the availability of the food, how it is served, waiter response, and all that all matters. Now, looking for the situational factors, service performance condition that customers view as beyond the control of service provider. So here, even the service provider also cannot be controlled because it is in situation. So if it is in, you can say natural disaster, hurricane Sandy, if there is a strike, there is a lockdown, so we can imagine a situation. Predicted service, level of service that customer believe they are likely to get. Okay, it's an estimate or calculation of service that customer will receive in an individual transaction rather than in an overall relationship with the service provider. So going to next, sources of both desired and predicted service expectation. So we have studied the zone of tolerance and we have seen how the need generated. Now looking at the both desired and predicted service, interested consumers. So whenever the consumer is interested to purchase some services, so obviously he is likely to seek or take information from various sources. Even we do that and we follow this. So if you look at example, call a store, ask a friend, track ads in newspapers. So they may also receive service info by watching TV, serve those search actively as well as possible. So these are all when the consumer is interested. So factors which influence both desired as well as predict service expectation are explicit service promises that we have seen, implicit service promises, word of mouth communication, again important one, and past experiences. So if you look at explicit service promises, and these are personal and non-personal statement about service made by the organization to the customers. So whenever they are calling on the call or even they advertising it, so they are promising directly and they are giving the personal and non-personal statement. Okay, what the service they are providing. And if you look at personal, it might be salesperson, people, service personnel, or non-personal. In non-personal, a web page, advertisement, and brochure, etc. So when it comes to personal, either it will be salesperson or service person. But when it comes to non-personal, we have gone through some web pages, advertisement seen in different media or even brochures also. So completely within the control of the service provider. So he can control this very nicely because it is in his hand, explicit promises. Sometimes companies deliberately overpromise by stating best estimate about service delivery in the future. So that depends on the organization. So direct effect on service expectation, example, total solution, 24-hour services, 24/7 services within 8 days. Okay, these are all over promises and those are in the hand of the organization. When it comes to implicit service promises, and these are service related cues other than explicit promises that lead to interference about what the service should and will be like. Okay, so these are the quality cues are dominated by price and other tangible components. So looking at the price, we can implicit the promise, service promise, and even with the tangible component also we can check. So higher the price, obviously we have discussed that more the quality we expect. So more impressive the tangibles, more the customer will expect from the services. So I'm paying 2,000 rupees for a lodging room, means obviously I'm expecting a huge services from that particular lodge. And if I see the tangibles are very nice, so in a restaurant, if I go there, so I'm expecting the food will be also good there. Same thing with the barber shop, same thing with the outer side interior of the any transportation services also. And next comes the word of mouth communication. So personal or non-personal statements made by customers other than the organization. So they are carry more weight and they are unbiased also, because word of mouth we all listen, we believe, we trust most that only. So important for service which are difficult to purchase or evaluate. So in this, word of mouth communication plays a role. Now, factor which employs both, that is past experience. So customer previous exposure to service that is relevant to focal service. Example, hotel visit, a barber shop visit, any retail store visit. So we can, with the past experience, so that also influence our desire also and predict the service also. Now next is the perception. So what exactly the perception is? So we have already studied this in our consumer behavior subject. So how individual view something, that is all perception. So it depends on the different person to different person, because it's depend on their experience, the knowledge, the education type they are, the age they belongs to. Okay, that matters. So it is the process through which the information from outside environment is selected, received, organized, and interpreted to make it meaningful to us. So when we see advertisements also, this comes as per the perception. How is it possible? Whether it is going to happen or not? Is it really? It all depends on the perception we have. So as per according to Joseph Ritz, perception includes all those processes by which an individual receives information about his environment. We get it from seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, and smelling. So with this, we can a consumer or a customer perceive it. Now, factor influence the perception, the price, organizational image, service evidence from people, process, and physical environment, and service encounter. Most important part here is service encounter. So if we see here, so customer perceptions of value, quality, and the satisfaction can be evaluated to these things. And service encounter, obviously we saw in last slide that how service encounter plays. It is a customer estimate the quality of service throughout his or her interaction with the service provider. And service evidence, because service are intangible, so customer are searching for evidence of service in every interaction they have with an organization. The way people talk to them, the physical evidence they see, the process which is going on. So these all factors a lot in service evidence. So in this, we know that people, process, and physical environment plays an important role at the service evidence. So the first people are service personnel. So service personnel play an important role. We know that is the person in the 7 P's of marketing. So in defining the quality of service and counter in the mind of the customers. So if you look at example, fast food restaurants such as McDonald's make their service tangible by hiring people who are friendly and have a pleasing appearance to serve the customers. So that impact a lot because at the time of service encounter. Process of service delivery. So it involves various steps in the process of delivering service and the flow of operational activities, how much time it is taken, how the flow is happening, how the process is continuing. The service process is also evaluated on the basis of the number of flexible or standard policies and the technology or human modes involved in the delivering the services. Next is the most important thing, again, physical environment. So this creates an impact on the customer perception. So the physical environment consists of the ambience offered by service provider and the design of the interiors or exterior of the service facility. So we come through this. And for example, first people, if you say, when we go to a restaurant, we will look into the waiter and the receptionist, how he welcomes us, and the waiter, how he asks for the orders, the way he responds to us, and time taken for delivering, that all process comes. Then come when we see the all evidence, physical environment of that particular restaurant. So these all things increase our perception. Third comes the organizational image. So image of an organization has a profound effect on perception of consumers. An organization with a positive image is considered to be providing good quality services. So obviously when we talk about Kamath, so we expect good quality. Udupi restaurant, again we expect good quality. McDonald's, KFC. So organization image matters a lot. So whereas an organization with not favorable image is considering to be providing bad quality services. The same thing happen with when we are traveling to one place to another place. The service transportation services also matters. The brand name organization, for example, VRL is there, SR is there. Okay, so we value them a lot because it is experience. The organization image is also very nice. And fourth is the price. So perception of a consumer is affected by the price of service. If a service company prices a product low, then the consumer may perceive it of a low quality. So whereas if the price is high, the consumer expectation, high quality of services. So we also have gone through these all things in our life. Okay. So service encounter, service evidence, then organizational image and the price. So these are the main factors that influence the perception of the customer. Now coming to the what are the strategies. Uh, so how the organization use strategies for influencing the customer's perceptions. So first of all, measure and manage customer satisfaction and service quality. One thing, obviously, we have to always services based on the customer satisfaction, most important part, and the quality of service which is provided. Aim for customer quality and satisfaction in every service encounter. It should not be different because once the bad service happens, it's very tough to uh, catch the customer once again. So he will leave and he will switch to another services. Plan for effective recovery. Anything happen, so let's always have a plan how to recover that particular problem has happened. Facilitate adaptability and flexibility and encourage spontaneity. Help employees cope with problem customers. Always there will be a service problem solvers. Manage the dimension of quality at the encounter level itself. Okay, so reflect evidence of services that has to be, obviously it has to be reflected in service when we are providing. Communicate and create a realistic image of the organization, what services we are providing, what actually we are providing more than creating fake promises. Enhance customer perceptions of quality and value through pricing. So these are the strategies which are used by the organization for influencing the customer perception.